What is freedom? What is the essence of ruling oneself? These are not simply questions, but the very core of a struggle that resonates with the heartbeat of a nation yearning for its rightful place in the annals of history. I am Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, known to many as Mahatma, a title bestowed upon me which means great soul. Today, I wish to speak to you about Swaraj, a term that encapsulates the soul of Indian independence and self-rule. The pursuit of Swaraj is a journey that transcends the physical struggle against colonial rule. It is a philosophical and spiritual campaign as much as it is a political one. It is the quest for true autonomy, not only for a nation, but for the individual spirit. Let us initiate our exploration with the fundamental principle of Swaraj, self-rule. To govern oneself is to be truly free, but this is not merely the absence of external oppression. It is the presence of internal discipline. The Swaraj I speak of is rooted in self-discipline and the accountability of the individual to the self and the community. Consider the example of the Salt March to Dandi in 1930. This was not just a protest against the salt taxes imposed by the British, but a declaration of the capacity to govern ourselves. By making our own salt, we were exercising our right to self-rule. The salt was not merely a commodity, it was a symbol of our self-sufficiency. Now, I implore you to turn your gaze inward. What does self-rule mean in your life? How do you exercise your autonomy in everyday decisions? The essence of Swaraj is captured in the principle of satyagraha, which is often translated as the force which is born of truth and love or non-violence. Satyagraha goes beyond passive resistance. It is an active force. Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lessons. When one practices satyagraha, one adheres to the truth and engages in non-violent resistance to injustice. It is through this force that the soul of a nation finds expression. To illustrate, recall the non-cooperation movement of the 1920s. We refused to abide by the laws, practices, and goods of the British, not out of hatred but to demonstrate our unity and self-respect. Our goal was not to harm the oppressor but to awaken a sense of moral righteousness. Now, I ask you to consider how truth and non-violence find expression in your life. How do you stand up to injustice? How do you maintain your integrity in the face of adversity? Let us now move to the concept of sarvodaya, the welfare of all. Swaraj is not complete if it does not include the upliftment of all segments of society. It is not enough for a nation to be free if its weakest members are still shackled by poverty and ignorance. One of my central teachings has been the upliftment of the rural poor, who are the backbone of our nation. By promoting the revival of village industries, we not only reclaim our economic independence but also ensure that the fruits of Swaraj reach every home. Examine your actions and their impact on those around you. How do you contribute to the welfare of your community? How do your choices promote the good of others? In the struggle for Swaraj, education plays a pivotal role. It is through education that we free the mind and ignite the spirit of self-rule. Nai Talim, the new education which I proposed, was not merely about literacy, but about crafting individuals capable of self-reliance and service to the nation. Consider the establishment of Tolstoy Farm, a community where we lived and worked collectively, putting into practice the principles of self-sufficiency and non-violence. Through this, we educated not just the mind, but also the heart and the hands. Now, I invite you to think about the role of education in your life. How does it shape your understanding of freedom and your duties as a citizen? In closing this first part of our discourse, let us remember that Swaraj is more than political freedom. It is the liberation of the soul from the bondage of ignorance and injustice. It is the forging of a destiny that is in harmony with the spirit of the individual and the collective. Let the story of the charkha, the spinning wheel, remind you of the power of self-sufficiency. It became a symbol of resistance and a tool for economic liberation. Each turn of the wheel was a step towards Swaraj. In your life, what is the charkha that empowers you? How do you spin the fabric of your freedom through your daily actions? Freedom's fabric, weaving the threads of self-reliance. In this second part of our discourse, we turn to a critical aspect of Swaraj, the cultivation of self-reliance. This is not just the ability to sustain oneself without external aid, but also the strength to stand upon one's convictions and the courage to act upon them. The charkha, or spinning wheel, is not merely a tool. It is a metaphor for the resilience of a subjugated people. The simple act of spinning cotton is an assertion of one's ability to be self-sustaining. The charkha became a symbol of our potential to generate our own economic freedom, an emblem of the dignity of labor, and a token of the interconnectivity of our social fabric. I would like you to think of the times when you have relied on your own skills and talents to overcome challenges. How does this self-reliance shape your sense of independence? The essence of self-reliance in the context of Swaraj extends beyond individual sustenance. It is about the collective capacity of a community to be self-sufficient. When I encouraged the boycott of British goods, it was a call to embrace our own industries, to reignite the dormant skills and crafts of our people. The boycott was not an act of aggression, but an act of self-empowerment and economic liberation. Reflect on how the choices you make in your consumption support or undermine your community's self-reliance. Are your actions strengthening the foundation of your local economy? Let us now examine the relationship between self-reliance and education. Nai Talam proposed an education system that integrated practical skills with intellectual development. The goal was not just to produce scholars, but to cultivate morally responsible and self-sufficient citizens. This holistic approach to education ensures that learning is not divorced from the realities of life, but is instead intimately connected to the everyday needs and aspirations of the people. Think about your own education. How has it prepared you to be self-reliant? How has it equipped you to contribute to the self-reliance of your community? The quest for Swaraj is deeply intertwined with the struggle for social justice. Self-reliance cannot be achieved in a society where there is inequality and discrimination. The eradication of untouchability and the upliftment of the oppressed were not just social reforms, but essential steps towards realizing true self-rule. In a society where the dignity of every individual is upheld, Swaraj finds its fullest expression. Consider the societal barriers that prevent self-reliance. What role can you play in breaking down these barriers and fostering a more just society? In this journey towards self-reliance, we must also address the role of women. The emancipation of women is critical to the project of Swaraj. Women, who form half of the sky, must be equal partners in the fight for independence and must be equally invested in the process of nation building. By empowering women, we sow the seeds of a more resilient and self-reliant society. Now I ask you to look at the women around you. How do you support their empowerment? How do their contributions shape the quest for self-reliance in your community? In closing this second part, let us remember that self-reliance is the golden thread that runs through the fabric of Swaraj. It is the affirmation of our capabilities and the celebration of our collective potential. The charkha, the boycott of foreign goods, the emphasis on holistic education, the fight for social justice, and the empowerment of women are all integral strands in the weaving of our independence. Every action you take, every decision you make, can contribute to the strength and resilience of this fabric. What threads will you weave into the tapestry of freedom and self-rule in your life? The harmony of independence, balancing individual liberty and collective good. In this third part of our conversation, I invite you to explore the delicate dance between individual liberty and the collective good, the very heart of Swaraj. Swaraj is not just the freedom of the individual, but also the harmony and well-being of the whole. As I have walked the path of life, I have seen that the true measure of self-rule is not how much freedom I can claim for myself, but how much I can harmonize my freedom with the needs of others. My personal liberty finds its highest expression when it contributes to the liberation of my brethren. The struggle for Indian independence was not merely a quest to free ourselves from British rule, but to establish a society where every individual can flourish. The concept of Swaraj extends to all aspects of life: political, economic, social, and spiritual. It is the idea of a civilization where every person has the opportunity to pursue their own growth without impinging on the well-being of their neighbors. I ask you now, how do you balance your personal freedoms with your responsibilities to those around you? How does your liberty contribute to the collective good? The principle of ahimsa, or nonviolence, is central to this balance. Ahimsa is not merely the absence of physical violence, but also the presence of a love that respects the freedom and dignity of all living beings. When we embrace ahimsa, we acknowledge the interconnectedness of life and the responsibility we hold towards each other. Reflect on how ahimsa manifests in your life. How do you practice nonviolence in thought, word, and deed? How does it shape your interactions with others? The path to Swaraj is also paved with the concept of trusteeship. This principle teaches us that wealth and resources should be utilized for the welfare of all, not hoarded for personal gain. When I advocate for trusteeship, it is a call for the wealthy to be the custodians of their wealth for the benefit of society. Consider the idea of trusteeship in your life. How do you use your resources and talents for the greater good? How do you ensure that your prosperity does not come at the expense of others? Let us also focus on the role of civil disobedience, a powerful tool in our struggle for Swaraj. Civil disobedience is the intentional violation of unjust laws through nonviolent means. It is a way to assert our moral autonomy and to call for the transformation of unjust systems. Through civil disobedience, we bear witness to the higher laws of truth and justice. I invite you to think about the laws and systems that govern your life. Are they just? If not, how can you, through nonviolent means, stand against them? In our pursuit of Swaraj, we must also embrace the principle of Swadeshi, or the preference for the goods and services of one's own country. Swadeshi is more than economic strategy. It is a form of economic self-respect. It encourages us to support our local economies and to foster self-sufficiency within our communities. Now, I urge you to contemplate how Swadeshi is reflected in your choices. How do you support your local community's economy? How do your choices impact the self-reliance of your nation? In closing this third part, let us remember that Swaraj is a symphony of individual liberties and collective responsibilities. It is the art of crafting a society where every voice is heard, every life is valued, and every hand contributes to the common good. In your life, how will you contribute to this symphony? How will your actions resonate with the principles of ahimsa, trusteeship, civil disobedience, and Swadeshi? The Luminous Path, illuminating the journey to sovereign souls. As we draw near to the conclusion of our exploration of Swaraj, our fourth part lights the path toward the ultimate destination, the sovereignty of the soul. For true independence is not only about the liberation of the land, but also about the emancipation of the spirit within each individual. Throughout my life's journey, I have come to understand that Swaraj is incomplete without the awakening of the soul, a state where the individual transcends the ego and unites with the truth. This awakening is the final freedom, liberating us from the chains of desire, fear, and ignorance. I have often meditated on the nature of this inner sovereignty. It is a realm where the self is not a prisoner of cravings or aversions, but a beacon of peace and contentment. It is the sanctuary of satyagraha, where the force of truth governs the soul. Reflect upon your inner world. How close are you to achieving sovereignty over your own spirit? What are the obstacles that you face, and how can you overcome them? The journey to sovereign souls is paved with the practice of self-discipline and self-control. These are the tools that guide us toward self-mastery and prevent us from becoming slaves to our baser instincts. Self-discipline is not self-denial, but the highest form of self-respect. Consider the role of self-discipline in your life. How does it help you in your pursuit of personal and spiritual growth? In the context of Swaraj, the cultivation of inner sovereignty is essential for the creation of a just and compassionate society. When individuals are ruled by their higher selves, they naturally act in the interest of the common good. Thus, the personal quest for enlightenment is deeply connected to the collective pursuit of social harmony. I urge you to think about the connection between your personal spiritual practices and the well-being of your community. How does your inner peace contribute to the peace around you? The path of Swaraj also invites us to engage in selfless service, or seva. Through seva, we not only help those in need, but we also purify our own hearts. It is in giving that we receive the true wealth of the spirit, the joy of compassion, and the satisfaction of duty fulfilled. Ask yourself, how do you serve others? What can you give, not just in terms of material wealth, but in kindness, time, and understanding? As we conclude, let us remember that the sovereignty of the soul is the crowning glory of Swaraj. It is the light that dispels the darkness of ignorance and the force that liberates us from the shackles of the finite. It is the ultimate freedom that we seek, not just for ourselves, but for all humanity. The journey towards such sovereign souls is eternal and arduous. It is a quest that transcends time and space, leading us to the essence of our being. In the end, Swaraj is more than a political goal. It is a spiritual calling. So now, I leave you with this final reflection. How will you walk the luminous path toward the sovereignty of your soul? How will your light contribute to the dawn of Swaraj in the hearts of all? The eternal quest, unfolding the petals of the self. As I delve into the final reflection of our discourse, I recognize the journey of Swaraj as an eternal quest. It is akin to the unfolding of a lotus, each petal representing a step towards self-realization and collective harmony. This eternal quest beckons me to a deeper understanding that Swaraj is more than governance or political freedom. It is an ever-evolving state of consciousness. It is a pursuit where Each step taken in the external world must be matched by a stride in the internal realm. As I walk this path, I constantly ask myself, how can I deepen my understanding of self-rule? How can I align my innermost values with my outward actions to embody the true spirit of Swaraj? The continuum of self-rule and enlightenment is a sublime dance between being and becoming. I am both a participant in the unfolding drama of existence and a witness to the blossoming of my spirit. With each breath, I strive to live with greater awareness, embracing the transient nature of life while seeking the eternal truth that underlies it. I contemplate the lessons learned and the wisdom gained. How do I apply these insights to navigate the complexities of life? How do I maintain a steadfast pursuit of truth amidst the myriad distractions? The path to enlightenment is paved with humility and the recognition that there is always more to learn, more to understand, and more love to share. I am reminded that my liberation is inextricably linked to the liberation of all beings. Therefore, my Swaraj is not for myself alone, but for the upliftment of all humanity. I consider the ways in which I can serve as a vessel for positive change. How can I foster unity and understanding in a world that often seems divided? How can I use my voice and my actions to promote peace and justice? As I stand at the threshold of the infinite, I perceive that the journey of Swaraj is boundless. It does not conclude with the attainment of goals or the reaching of a destination. Rather, it is a continuous process of growth, learning, and transformation. In the quietude of my heart, I resolve to carry forward the light of Swaraj, allowing it to guide me in the pursuit of my highest ideals. I commit to living each day with purpose and to serving the greater good with all my being. And now, as our conversation comes to a close, I extend this commitment to you. How will you carry the light of Swaraj into the world? How will you contribute to the eternal quest for truth and self-rule? In the dance of the cosmos, may we all find our steps aligned with the rhythm of righteousness, our hearts attuned to the melody of compassion, and our souls uplifted by the harmony of universal love.